All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Procast fresh from the big tournament that literally just finished this past weekend. The Stay at Homestory Cup, a big tournament with all the best players in the world competing, and this is a really exciting Terran vs. Zerg that I've cherry-picked because it is meant to be one of the best matches of the entire tournament. I haven't seen it. I do know the scoreline, but I have no idea who wins each match. Let's get into it. Down here in the bottom right, in the red, it's Serral. Of course, the Finnish player, 2018 world champion, and still one of the most consistently high-placing tournament-winning players in the world. And his opponent, now what's so exciting about him is he took Raynor out earlier on in this tournament, and he has been looking so good. In the blue, in the top left, the Terran, hailing from Korea, it's Kua. I think what gets me so excited about Kua, honestly, is the fact that he's been ramping up. And he's been very good for a very long time, but specifically with his performance against the European Zergs. I mean, I think the first time he ever played Serral was early 2020, but he got hammered like 0-2, 0-3, 0-3, 0-2, a bunch of times in a row. And then he slowly, sometime maybe 6-8 months ago, he started ramping up and saying, you know, second half of 2020, he really seemed to figure things out. Serral was barely beating him in these really close nail-biting 3-2 series. And then he actually did take out Serral 3-0 just 5 months ago. Did lose the last time, but once again, a very narrow 2-3 loss. So he's become a player who used to just get crushed by Serral. Serral always had his number, right up to someone who really brings the fight to him. And he actually took Raynor out really well earlier on in this tournament. Raynor maybe didn't look like his absolute best top performance. He was commentating a lot of the tournament as it's a really casual get-up where they get the pro gamers in. And they do a lot of... is it commentary? More it's pro gamers and Rotterdam and Loco kind of hanging out and just shooting the shit while the games are played at the same time. It's a really cool kind of relaxed form of commentary. And Raynor was on there and he was saying, you know, I was doing so many interviews the whole time. This last week, it's just been non-stop. Everybody in Italy, everybody around the world, they all want to interview the new world champion. He hasn't really had much of a chance to practice, to digest, to kind of recenter himself and get back in the groove. So he's kind of looking to do that. These Marines find an Overlord. It's a bit too far from that pillar. He should have gone north there. Higher chance of getting to safety there, I do think. And hey, that's a nice catch for Kua. Shuts down Serral's map vision. Serral has no idea what's going on. This is his deepest scout on the map. It's just outside his base. So back on that point, Raynor maybe didn't look his best, but I really like the way Kua adjusted in that series. He was doing things like, I remember there was a point where Raynor was trying to defend this base, exact same spawns on this map, and he had tanks spread from here all the way up. He even had 2 tanks and a Liberator covering from this high ground. He was setting up these like 3-screen tank Liberator pushes. Really cool series. If I get a chance, I'll go over it later. I think the sad part about it is that, Raynor just kind of kept fighting into these pushes, and he'd clean up the front of it, and then there's another layer, and another layer, and another layer, and the fights were just so bad for Raynor and so good for Kua. So I like that change of pace from a lot of players who overcommit into Raynor. He can jump on their army and crush it. I think Kua learned something from Maru in the World Championship when he played against Raynor, that turtling and kind of setting up annoying positions with very heavy tank counts is actually the secret to taking out young Raynor. Of course, Serral, a different beast, but hey, look at that. It's going to get 1 Zergling, 2 Zerglings. Nice focus fire with the Hellions. Stops them taking these rocks down. These rocks, of course, create a nice safety point for you to siege tanks behind later on. You can drop Marines in front and work forwards from there. 3 more Queens are on the way right now for Serral, so he's got 3 Queens out and 3 more building droning nice and hard. 1, 2, 3 active tumors, and he's going to try and put another one up the top. He's just waiting for 25 energy to tick over. You can see these Queens are already spread out, ready for that. Now, the Italian's going to try to run in the south, but this Overlord will see them. So Serral should know not to spread that tumor anymore. He's got that one on the top, and he should be good. Overlord with speed does fly through the base, sees just about everything, and the Italians try to run past. They're greeted by 4 Queens from Serral. And Serral will just kind of chill out, let those Hellions go back. He's continuing to drone up. Notice he's already got 1 full base, a 2nd full base on minerals, and that 3rd base very close to full, already at the 4-minute 30 mark. So Serral's economy is roaring, his creep is spreading out, but Huey's got a quick 3rd command center. This is almost the most common build order. I'd say this is the most common opening, is a quick 3rd command center these days. Already got 3 barracks, Double engineering bay there in the main. So really just a very light Hellion commitment. 4 Hellions, just for a little bit of slowing down the creep, making sure it can't non-stop spread, forcing Serral to at least move his queens out around a little bit. And Serral's going to go straight for a 4th base in the top. Ooh, nice quick 4th base around 5 minutes. That's going to be beautiful. Really well done by Serral. Now, Serral does do a bit of a style where he has to defend the 4th. He can't afford to give that up. And that's kind of a unique thing with Serral, where some players, like a laser, will just opt for a 5th, a 6th base really quickly, and if one falls, they don't care. They're all about the backstab. Serral has been backstabbing a lot against Clem lately, but against other Terrans, he still prefers a front-on control style. So we'll see exactly how he tries to kind of take the wind out of the sails of Cure. That's Serral's namesake style. It's really about denying the attack timings, where the Terran wants to open up weakness, find these little areas to start picking the Zerg apart, pulling them around. And as the 6th gas is not down, it looks like we're not going to see Muta play 5th gas, but it looks like maybe Hydraling Bane is what I'd guess. Because if he was going straight Ultras, he probably wouldn't even have the 5th gas. He'd probably just stay on 4 gases. But very good work account so far. Double Evo chamber, reasonably well timed, as he can start 1-1 just after the 6-minute mark. Didn't have enough gas for Carapace, but of course, paying attention to his upgrades, he does get that going. And he's got the really quick Baneling speed. So are the upgrades ahead for Terran? Absolutely. A solid minute, maybe 70 seconds ahead, which is very powerful. And actually, he's got an armory coming in, so we can start 2-2, but also he's building Hellions right now. So Bio Hellbat timing incoming. Serral is going to need a lot of Banelings against this. He's got a Dropper Lord getting ready in the top, so he's going to actually counter Baneling drop probably on this 3rd mineral line if he comes in from there. The depot will spot it, though, and give warning. If there wasn't a depot there, he wouldn't see it until you fly in from this cliff right over the workers. At the same time, though, big Stim Marine Hellbat timing. There's a good queen count, some Banelings, but he's got to morph a lot more. See, he runs back, morphs those Banelings as this massive Hellbat Marine comes in. We're going to jump over and look at that drop in just a moment. Queen starting to fall. Banelings not getting the best detonations. Banelings do roll into this mineral line, and he's going to micro it, so he does get a fair few workers, but Cure reacts, pulls back. And Serral already lost a lot of his queens. I told you guys his Banelings were not getting very good hits before. Those are some better Baneling hits, but where's the Zerglings to finish it off? There's still 10 Stim Marines. He needs more Zerglings to pop. Queen's starting to take some damage. His Queen's just fighting these Marines right now. Zerglings, as they pop out, will save it, but he's already lost a heck of a lot of Queens. 6 Queens going down, which means it's going to be a bit of a struggle in the follow-up. Notice he immediately respreads creep. He needs to get control of this area again, but he's not going to be able to. He's at 80 workers is Serral, but Q is going to keep this pressure up. He sees that there's an opening right now. 2 Banelings do finish, though, and nice spready from Q. Doesn't really take much damage there at all. He's still got 1 Hellbat left, but more Banelings are finishing. More Ling Bane Queen on the way. Serral is supply blocked right now. Oh, man, if Serral can't get rid of this push, Q is going to take him out. If Q gets on this, I think Q has done it. Q has done it. Yeah, he's on the base. He's got too many units, and Serral hitting an unfortunate supply block. Q takes game 1. All right, let's go straight into map number 2 here. It's Lightshade, and in the top left, down a map. An unfortunate loss there in that map. It's Serral. Now, those Marine Hellbat timings, they are very scary. Marine Hellbat require a lot of Banelings, but the thing is they're much more committed than Widow Mines. They really are. So if you shut down that first wave with enough Banelings and Queens, you can deal with it. But this player microed very well. His Marine splits were spectacular. And he actually spread his Hellbats out really nicely in the start of that push. So I think a lot of Hellbats were only hitting, Banelings, sorry, were only hitting 1 or 2 Hellbats at a time. So a great way to start off the series with some momentum. It looks like full macro, but adding the Hellbats in there just to force a ton of Banelings out of the Zerg. And only losing about 6 or 7 SCVs to the Baneling drop as well. This is Cure. Going to go for that standard barracks gas opening so far. 16 hatch into an 18 gas 17 pool is what we'd expect from Serral. First drone, of course, finishes off saturating his bases where it does join that lonely worker. Gas goes down in 18. Pool on 17. I don't really like this pool placement myself. Much prefer pool and other important tech to always be nestled on this side in between the main and the natural, because it's always the outside over here where drops are going to be coming in, so why give them a nice, easy target? I mean, it's not as good as killing drones, but still, it's very annoying. If you're playing Mutiling Bane, Ling Bane, Hydra, anything like that, losing your spawning pool is a massive pain, so just a personal little optimization for this matchup, where I always feel spawning pool, Spire, Evo Chambers, put them down here, do not put them up on that side, because it's just easier for them to drop, kill the stuff, get out. Their units are in the back here. I mean, you've really screwed the pooch. You've messed things up in a big way if that's happened. Command center does go down. Of course, there is an SCV scout that arrives over here for Cure, sees the hatchery and says, okay, cool, just checking that it was a hatchery first. That allows my Reaper to go across the map and do a little bit of harassment. Now, of course, Serral will be sending a drone over to the third base. It's going to be this drone. It looks like the 21st drone that does pop out. Heads over to the third down there. 4 lings on the way, 2 queens. And notice he's pulled off gas a little early. So even though he's got 100 gas, doesn't start ling speed. And he's only just started the Overlord. So it's 27 Overlord. Builds another drone to 28. This drone does not want to lose that. Hatchery goes down on 28 supply. And he wants to go ling speed next, usually. Use up 1 more drone, actually. 2 more drones before ling speed, so a very delayed ling speed here for Serral. And I'm not sure if that's standard, though. I haven't really studied the latest opening habits. I'm sure Lambo has a 3-hour video breaking down the little details of the advantages, which I will watch later and actually understand and learn. It's really cool. Opening adjustment details, not something most players need to worry too much about, but it's always cool to see the little optimizations and understand any ling speed delayed variant like this. The real advantage is more minerals, right? It just means earlier third hatch, more non-stop drones and overlords and queens. But you are giving up ling speed, which means the Reaper can hang around as long as he wants. Hellions are going to get to your side of the map before that Reaper's in any danger. It also means you can't really threaten anything at all. But why is this so popular? It's so popular because this third CC is so popular. Remember what I talked about? These Hellions are the first 2 Hellions. They're not going to pop till after 3 minutes 30, and that is standard in the current meta. So we've gone from a time where a lot of players would be like, bam! A few years ago, maybe late 2017, for instance, gas first, factory, bam! Your first 2 Hellions are popping like 3 minutes and 10 seconds, 3 minutes and 5 seconds, and you're sending them across the map. By this time, you could already be ready with a 4 Hellion dive-in. Where what is there to defend? Nothing for Zerg players in the current meta. So there's been an escalation of greed on both sides. Terran has said faster third CC, delay the Hellions. I've still got a well-timed starport to make Banshees, so I'm still safe against like Ravager attacks and that sort of stuff. I've still got these Hellions out to see things coming. They're just a bit later, and the Zergs have responded with later ling speed, more creep, more queens, more drones. These Zerg is going to try and cover this, but Serral doesn't really have his overlords very far out, and oh, Cure, not quite watching. Of course, he was watching the Overlord in his main, which he did manage to kill there. It was a slow Overlord that confirmed the third CC. So that tells Serral he's got to get a move on with his macro. I would do exactly the same macro that he did in the last game. If I were him, I'd just focus on maybe having a small Zergling backstab rather than such an early Baneling drop. That was a lot of gas to go into a Baneling drop so early in the game. But more importantly, he needs to just gather his units up and keep engaging. And then if there's another Hellbat timing, if that becomes a pattern in this series, he's got to pull back when the Terran spreads, disengage a little bit, and let him come forward. Because whenever he comes forward, his units are taking damage from the Queens, because your Queens are longer range than the Hellbats, and it gives you an opportunity for the enemy units, as they move further forward, they're naturally going to clump up, which means your Banelings are going to find clumped up Hellbats, big money shots, rather than those, hey, Terran's all spread out. He's like, you know when the guy does this in the martial arts movie, he does the little come forward, come fight me. Don't do that. Run away, man. You know, when Neo does that, that's when Agent Smith is in big trouble, man. And likewise, if the Terran has their push set up just the way they want, often as a Zerg, no matter the situation, a general guideline is don't fight where they want you to fight. Now this creep's kind of out of control. Fourth base in the far north of the map. That's looking really good. Hellions down here are going to try and nip the creep off on the south. And I think that's partially so the Banshees can slide in without being scared. He says, distract here, rotate to the right. Ooh, those Banshees just barely skimming outside of Queen range, and they're going to look for some of these drones. Behind this, of course, 1-1 once again is up quicker. We've got the barracks going up to 4th and 5th barracks already. Banshees come in. What's really nice about this is Q has already got his 3-base production up, or 2-base, I should say, before even engaging in this micro scenario. Does cop a few more spore hits than he probably should have, but 8 worker kills already. Serral's got to be a little bit more on point with pulling those drones away. You know, those little details. This used to be the thing which Serral never made any mistakes on. But he's not pulling workers off gas. That seems to be like a conscious choice because he doesn't want to spend the APM putting them back on. He's hoping he can just get away with it. But you can see Q was manually targeting the workers on the gas that were left behind. And now he's got to remember to put a worker back on that gas there. Up on 5 gases once again is Serral, or at least going up to that point. He's going to break these rocks down because this is a nasty tank position here. Wants to have a big wide open choke point to reclaim this high ground if that is contested later on. Second factory is on the way as the 4th and 5th barracks finish. Stim is done here as well. This Cloak Banshee's just remaining hidden in the back of the base for now. They'll try to slide out a little later. Hellions trying to delay, but really not finding much purchase. The Queen's just pushing them back. And finally, the first 2 Stim Marine medevacs are moving out, but this is not the fastest Stim Marines. That's the price you pay. When you opt for the Banshees, when you opt for a few more Hellions, you're going to see that this medevac pressure is about a minute later by the time it actually ends up on creep and fighting. But does have the second factory up. If you can get a 4th command center up, those are the 2 signs of a real 4-base big macro play. There is a huge difference between a 5 barracks 1 factory Terran and one who's got the 4th command center and the second factory up. That 4th hatchery gets cancelled, so it's nice. It's a 5th base, so it's not a particularly important base just yet for Serral. That being said, Serral should really be getting a macro hatch, and this is something he's been consistently ignoring / forgetting in his recent Zerg vs Terran. Does push this back, only loses 1 Baneling, that's fine. And he's actually been both either missing injects or hitting supply blocks. So whenever the Terran kind of manages to surprise him with an attack, he has been getting thrown off a little bit. So I'm really happy he's doing that. Macro Hatch goes down, as does an Infestation Pit. So he's playing Massling Bane for now. It looks like he's just going to go for Hive. If he gets a few Infestors out, I'll be really happy. I've been talking about Infestors for a long time, and Serral started using them a lot in his late game. I doubt he gets them before the Hive. I think it'll just be quick Ultras, but I can dream. An Infestor fan can dream. So we've got, what is this, 3 Widow Mines coming out with another medevac, and holy crap, Queens, I think that was an accidental move by Serral. He just tried to move them to the north. He thought they would move around this backside, but they didn't. He gets a full medevac of Marines because there's no reason you'd ever expect them to be there, because it's insanely dangerous to have such a slow unit off creep like that. And now Serral has to come forward to try and save his Queens. He loses 1 Queen, but that's totally fine there. A few transfuses go down as well. A little bit annoyed about that. Losing a full medevac was a real bummer, but he's now ready to start pushing HELLBATS, Widow Mines, and look at that. I was talking about the spread, but Serral's got a big flank coming in on the 3rd base. Banelings do wipe out the HELLBATS. He's got more Banelings going. He threatens the run by, but he doesn't actually commit to it. A bit of hesitance there. Serral with a little bit of an F2. And he does see plenty of units at home, so he's got to get these units out of here now. He's going to try and jump on this army, but, ooh, actually, you know what? He gets a fair few of those Marines. A big Widow Mine hit gets him, but he does take out enough of the Marines to clear this pushback. Ooh, he takes a few nasty Widow Mines. Not as bad as they could have been. If he could respread creep and get this position, that's where Serral finds himself in a great spot. The scary thing for a Zerg here is if you clear their push, and then they're back on the front with a reinforce and they're fighting you in the same area, because in that scenario, there's no time for the creep to regrow, and you steadily get pushed back into a corner where you just lose control of the map. So this is going to be a little bit better for him, and he is in fact going for that Hive for the Lurkers first. It's not going to be the fast Ultra style, so that's what all that gas is going to be for as he starts Burrow here. 2-2 on the way. Still about 30-40 seconds behind the Terran's upgrade, so close the gap a little bit, not that much. 88 drones for Serral, 78 SCVs for Q. Both players with big boy economies right now. Just 2 Widow Mines dropping there. A wise choice. Unfortunately for him, one of the Widow Mines shoots an egg because Widow Mines literally haven't had their AI patch since the fucking Roomba. Like, seriously, they're using the same AI as a robot vacuum cleaner from the early 2000s. It's like, man, yeah, they're so stupid. Widow Mines are just such a stupid unit. Banelings don't find too much there. A few depots, bit of mining time. He can rebuild that, leave a few Marines around. There's still 2 Widow Mines on the far left. The creep started to get pushed back in the middle. Q is going to be looking for these good trades, and he wants to start trading a little more before these Hydras and Lurkers hit the field. That's going to make it more awkward for him. Widow Mine's not really finding the juicy nugs just yet. Me phone's ringing. I've told it to fuck off because it's probably a telemarketer wanting to sell me some bullshit. Apologies for that, guys. The Widow Mine drop does come in on the back of the natural, and does get a few kills there. A few drones goes down. Ooh, Banelings. Okay, yeah, you know what? Serral hasn't taken any big hits. I think at this point we've lost too many Widow Mines. 13 Widow Mines for very limited actual unit kills. The units lost tab is only a few thousand ahead for Q. You want it to be much more ahead. When a Zerg expands at this rate, you've really got to out-trade them. Oh my god, unless you're getting an insanely fast 5th up. He's not getting an insanely fast 5th up at all as he takes a big hit from those Banelings. We got a 4th on the top right. 3-3 is on the way for Terran. It's a while away for the Zerg. +1 range instead of +3 melee. But +3 Carapace goes in. The more important upgrade, the Universal Zerg upgrade, those Carapace. And Lingbane and a Lurker come in. SCV pulls good, but dude, he's actually going to get the Planetary. Just a Lurker, a handful of Lingbane. It didn't even feel like that many units. Pulls the Lurker just out of the scan range. That's what we call an annoying Lurker. That's an FU Lurker. But Q is going to answer with his own double drop in the main. Bruising a few Overlords, but not really killing much. And more than enough Lings on the map to respond. Adrenal has not been made yet. Keep that in mind, guys. Serral has forgotten that upgrade. He was very gas-starved in the last minute or two. But now that he's up on 5 base gases, all 10 gases, I think he should be able to afford that and all the rest. Adaptive Talons is on the way, joining Seismic Spines there. Another drop on the right side as well. Q is really just not finding anything so far, and he needs to, because he doesn't even have many. He's only got 2 factories. I've seen some Terrans go 4 factory tank to counter this style recently, but he's not doing it. And oh my god, his command center gets killed by a Zergling run by. I could have sworn he was going to cancel it. But Q are on 3 base versus a 6 base Zerg. He's trying to drop in the north. He's moving in on the bottom left side of the map as well. Those Marines do save themselves somehow, not going down. He's got to push in the bottom left. It's a good handful of units, but it's very much there's this extreme urgency to win and to do some damage now, sooner rather than later. He's got to drop on the north. It's going to go back in on that top base. I think his Widowmine drop finally did go down. Lurkers do take out one Widowmine. He's going to dive on it. Is Serral. He's going for a Raynor style engage. He doesn't have Talons just yet, which means those Lurkers are a little slow. And you know what? He loses a hatch in the south. His Lingbane taking inefficient trades, and Q is reinforcing on the right. Oh my god, I was saying there's a lot of urgency here. Well, finally, he finds some damage. A few drones go down in the main base as well. Serral does remember to kick on with Adrenal Glands upgrades on the way. These Marines trade pretty damn well, taking out a lot of Zerglings and a few Banelings towards the trail end of that. Q's economy sucks, though. Even after all those awesome trades, he got rid of Serral's bank, but he's not maxed. Serral is, and Serral is not going to let him get that 4th back up. More Lingbane coming in, and this is exactly what Serral needed to do to maintain this advantage. He's up on 5 base, up against 3. Of course, having lost his 6, he kills the 4th building again. Lurkers in the bottom left, not much support for them. The Marine Marauder tries to stim on it, but the Banelings do come forward. Vipers running into the Marines and getting themselves taken down. Ouchies. Lurkers do pull back, waiting for some Baneling Hydra support. On the other side of the map, Lings get in on top of the tanks. He's got to pick up on the front and evacuate. How's that Ling run by going? It looks like it does go down, but not before quite a few Marines die to siege tank friendly fire. And Cura on 3 bases. He's out of steam and he should be dead at this point. Even though Serral's taking some big losses in terms of efficiency, like he's got all these Banelings that don't trade that well, but that's okay. Those Banelings are allowing his army to keep back Cura, and that's all he really needs to do. He's at 6 Lurkers with 3 more about to finish. He's using those, combined the Lingbane Hydra, and on a 5 base, soon to be 6 base economy. I mean, he's just too far ahead in terms of scale. If Cure was able to win here, 60 SCVs versus 92 drones, I would be beyond impressed. I would be absolutely flabbergasted. I mean, he's trying to headbutt through Lurker Baneling right now. He's doing good back and forth micro with the Medivacs with the bio. But the Medivacs, even though he's got 11 of them, they're low on energy. And there's always Lurkers ready to backstab to run in and hit these mineral lines. I really wish these Lurkers on the bottom right would actually do that. They do spot the drop coming in. Serral does respond. He doesn't have many Hydras right now. He's trying to build 8 more because he's got no anti-air. He's just going to have to start peppering these Medivacs with parasitic bombs and slowly kill them that way. Burrowed Zerglings blocking these expansions. Qit drops a scan. Stims some bio over to clear that up. Parasitic Bomb comes down on the drop. Lingbane runs forward. Cure. Oh, he tries to stutter step out. 2 Lurkers ambush him. Of course, just leaving the Banelings on the ground because those Marauders on the ground, sorry, because the Marauders just do not care about these Banelings. And whenever Serral's caught without enough Zerglings and Hydras to actually deal with them, the Marauders just stand their ground and say, blow up on me, buddy. Blow up on me. Oh, no! Cure rallying through the 2 Lurkers. Ouch, ouch. Does take a few big rounds of splash. Loses a few important units, including a siege tank there in the south. Serral says, hey, I'm still on 6 base, buddy. And Cure, he's landed his main on the 4th base. So that's his main base. He's still only on 3 bases. Serral is still growing. He's dropping Blinding Clouds. 2 out of the 3 tanks are clouded. And a Parasitic Bomb, or 2 in fact, go down. Beautiful split off of the Parasitic Bombed units. Is there enough to take out the Lurkers, though? I don't think there is. There's just too much Lurker. Baneling Hydra. A lot of Medivacs went down, the tanks went down, and most of the bio fell. Cure has to turn tail and run. Those Lurkers did a run by on the expansion during that, forcing Cure to multitask as much as possible. The fact that Serral isn't max is a testament to Cure's ability to fight from behind here to micro his heart out. But micro your heart out. Now, it might sound cool. It literally means you're ripping your heart out. You're going to bleed to death, as Cure eventually does. Ties up the series 1-1. Good job, Serral. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to game number 3. This here is Oxide. And this is a map which makes me worry for Serral. With the way that last map went, that's a map with lots of wide open areas, lots of Ling Bane places to fight. This map, on the other hand, yeah, it's got a few big wide open areas, but it's also got some brutal choke points. It's got some beautiful ledges that can be taken advantage of. So let's see if he can take the advantage in the series here. In the bottom left, it's Serral. If there was ever a map for a roach attack, a big surprise attack, a gamble, I think this is it. And his opponent, is he going to be wary of such moves? In the top right, in the red, it's Cure. I see Raynor almost every game on this map go for a big 1-1 roach bust. And part of that is due to the architecture of the map. So let me point out why. If you look at this, the Terran takes the main, the natural, very hard to assault these up this narrow ramp. But when the Terran moves out to a third base here, even if they take the other third, and I do think the other third's a little better, but this is the more normal third. Terran likes to just float it down and have it on their push path towards their opponent. The problem is this terrain here. So just outside the natural expansion, this is normally where against a big mass roach build, it's all about just not dying and letting your army build enough. And even if you take a bit of damage on your third, as long as you keep your tank count growing, keep your bio alive, even if you've got to pull SCVs to buffer for them, at a certain army size, Roach Ravager just cannot compete with Bio Tank because the tank splash damage wrecks the roaches, and then you've got Bio that clumped up just does so much more damage. So what you want to do is you want to have like a tank here or here, and then some tanks here. So you've got this kind of like little layered siege tank stuff with Bio in front of it. The problem is that's all blocked by this. You can't even put tanks behind the mineral line. There's no space there. Like you can put 1 or 2 there, but even that, there's no room behind it to repair or to fall them back. So the problem you find yourself is you end up having to put all your tanks out here in the open, and suddenly the Zerg can just break these rocks and fight in this giant open area there. They break these rocks, have a pretty big path there, and a pretty big path there. So Roach Ravager, which is all about just getting on top of the Terran and killing all their tanks and Bio, suddenly has an ability to do that. We'll see. I haven't really seen Serral play that style in a while. It's more of a Raynor style to keep your eyes on. Cure floats the barracks out, gets rid of that Overlord. And he's building an eBay to block the third. Wow, he's really working hard to try and screw up Serral's build. I don't think that was worth it. He does get most of the minerals back. It ends up costing 31 minerals. An engineering bay cost does take. And he's going to go second barracks factory. So it's a 2-on-1. Okay, wow. So Cure wants to go a double medevac push. So he's trying to just delay that third, maybe delay the creep, slow the build down a little, make it a bit more awkward, and then surprise with a big double medevac marine pressure. Serral's going to try to make up for his lack of overlords with a Zergling. Meanwhile, the SCV was running around looking to see if any extra overlords were coming in. Cure's Marines do push the Zergling back, but good reaction by Serral. Keeps it alive for now. So, of course, the way this build works is you get Stim, Marines 3 at a time. You build a Starport, a Reactor, swap those around. 2 medevacs will time out with 16 Marines. You boost them across the map. As they get to the other side of the map, Stim's kicked in, and you're ready to fight. It's a really nice build order. It's a classic build order. And, oh my god, Roach Warren's actually on the way. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. This Roach Warren timing for Serral tells me he's going to hit a big Ravager Zergling attack. He may try to walk queens. No. It's just going to be 4 queens. So the idea behind building 4 queens, he's just going to make it look like, hey, I'm spreading creep. Look, I'm doing a normal game. I got a quick third. So he wants to give off that appearance. Now, the problem for Cure is he's going to have no idea this is coming because he doesn't have Hellions to scout with. And remember, he never built a Reaper this game. On the other hand, he's going to have a shitload of Marines by default. And right when this attack hits, he's already going to have Stim kicking in, probably as the attack's hitting him. So I actually think as long as he pulls SCVs in front of his Marines, this is perfect for Cure. I don't know if I want to use the word build order win, but I want to say the build order is not looking good for Serral here. He was expecting to go up against one of these 3cc build orders again. And even not seeing the Hellions, he's like, yeah, sometimes the Hellions are a little slow. But I wonder if at this point you should have trained into a build like this the thought to say, oh shit, this is a 2-on-1. Maybe I shouldn't do it. And there's two courses. Start droning right now and just play it out, which you can do because their economy is not the fastest either. Or go even harder all in and just hope you can break him. Now, if Cure moves out, gets surrounded, that would be terrible for him. Serral's got to hide his units. Serral, you got to hide your units. Oh, no. Okay, okay. Run. No, no, no. Don't Melf your Ravagers there. Oh, he shows his hand too early. So Serral here tries to jump on top and ambush this, but he actually loses a Ravager, only gets 2 Marines. If he let him come out of the base, this would have been terrible for Cure. But as long as Cure has the ramp, there's no way in hell you're going to bust that. So Serral, a little bit too slow to realize what he was up against. You can tell Serral was just focused on hitting the build order. But you know what? There's 2 versions of Serral. And this is why, you know, I've been backing Serral up for a long time. I've been saying, people are like, oh, stop cheesing, do macro, stop doing timing attacks. You're not as good at them. I got to admit, he is not as good at timing attacks. In this scenario, there were multiple tells that this was not a third command center situation, and yet he took too long to adapt and realize. And then even when he saw Marines moving out, he kind of just tried to jump on them. He wasn't thinking about the situation correctly. He wasn't adapting to the actual scenario he was in. Whoa, 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 8 Marines out. The Lings actually could have surrounded that and killed that. A big mistake from Cure, but Serral wasn't watching either, and he kind of panic retreats there. And Q is going to go for a 4 Hellion drop. He's dropped a third command center behind this. He's going for +1 weapons on the bio. Serral's droned back up here. He's got double Evo on the way, but his tech is still miles behind. He's only got 4 Queens that shoots up. Where's his Roach Ravager right now? Where is his Roach Ravager right now? It's out in the middle of the map. Oh, no! Those Roaches need to come back and defend this. These Hellions are having a bit of a party right now. Oh, no, 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 no. Serral, not like, no! Ow! Oh, bad drone micro from Serral. Very uncharacteristic of the Finnish boy. As, oh man, 16 workers, way more than he should have taken, especially with an Overlord spotting it so much sooner. A very slow response from Serral, and a little bit uncharacteristic. So, as I said, because Serral's so good at picking his build orders, and he doesn't do these timing attacks as much, I feel like sometimes he doesn't get enough repetitions with all the variable situations, and he's not looking for all the tells. He's kind of looking for the situation that he wants to encounter, and he's not as dogged and good at kind of digging his way out of bad positions. You know, if there's one thing I was looking for Serral as a coach or something, I'd want him to have more of a mentality that someone like Bly or Haas has, where it feels like, yeah, they're nowhere near as good at Serral when they're in a normal game or when they're ahead, at getting further ahead. They tend to not be that good at that. But when they are behind or in a messy situation, they are next level genius at spotting patterns, at figuring out, wait, I can do this little adjustment and turn this to a good situation, or have a chance of turning this to a good situation, where Serral's play just looks a little bit flat. After he's done a timing attack, if it doesn't encounter the situation he wants it to, it looks just like he goes back to his normal play, but it's a worse position. Everything's just like a little bit off. So I think a little bit more practice committing to these aggressive plays and playing out all the different scenarios, but not just that, not just the amount of practice, but having more of a mental focus on it. I get the impression that Serral maybe brushes off too many of his losses in these scenarios. Says, well, yeah, his build order counter to mine, it's better than mine. You know, this was not the scenario I wanted. Brush it off. You know, my gamble didn't work out. And I think it could be more than that. Now, I'm ranting a lot. Let's talk about what's actually happening in the game. He is playing Master Roach Ravager. That's kind of not what I think he wanted to play on this map, but he's going to do it. Obviously, like I was talking about, this is not a bad map for it. Now, Kua does take the better third base. This one's much better to defend with tanks because you've got 1 choke point into it. And Kua does have a scary supply of army and everything. He's got 2-1 upgrades, but they're very delayed. So I think as long as Serral finds a timing at 1-1 versus just +1 attack, he's actually got an upgrade advantage. He's got a giant army, but he's got to leave Roaches at home, and he's not doing that. He's underestimating. He sees 2 dropships there. If Kua drops with both of these, he could cause a lot of trouble. Serral's leaving a few Roaches on the left, on the right, sorry. Nothing on the left just yet. And Serral's going to break these rocks and try to hammer at home. I mean, this is a good way of doing it. Kua, though, he's building depots and turrets to spread to try and stop the advance. Serral needs to come not just from this ramp. If he has units coming from the right as well, he can close with these tanks. But Kua is set up in a perfect arc. Can Serral break through? He takes 2 tank shots already. He's dropping some bios. He's going to try and rotate up to the third. He could take that high ground. The tank only reaches to there right now. Kua wisely gives up the third, and he says, okay, I need to do backstab damage right now. This drop comes in. It's going to start to kill stuff. And Serral does respond pretty quickly. Only 3 drones. But Kua is forcing a longer game. Remember, I said all you need to do is delay. taking some damage on your third, going back to 2 base. It's not that bad because Roach Ravager is such a short-term style. If you let your upgrades kick in, you'll be good. Serral realizes this. He goes for a bit of an attack, but his army was not in the right position. His army was there. That's a terrible angle to engage in. The units all got stuck on the corner. They weren't able to get around. The other units was pure Ravager with no Roach meat, and it wasn't pre-spread either. Serral looks like he wants to go for a finishing blow, but he's afraid to commit to it right now. It's hard for him to choose to do that, and he's forced into a longer game, but he's still massing Roach Ravager, and he's making 2-2. This is if he doesn't trade right now, he's just going to lose the game. With Roach Ravager, you can go 2-2, but you need to get rid of the tanks. You need to kill some of the tanks, trade out with the bio. He hasn't done that. 60 drones is not enough of an advantage, and he's once again hugging these corners. He's got to be careful. 3 Ravagers run in. They look for a tank snipe. They weren't able to find it. He's going to try and maybe put that Overseer up there on pervert mode, see what he can do. The medevac out here on patrol from Kua, just seeing everything and so patiently hanging on. Look at that line of tanks. I don't think Serral has any window to open this up anymore. He's going to try to come in, but those tanks are so well positioned. The bio here dodging the biles. Serral is just taking bad trades right now because the biles are not landing. A few biles finally land, as I say that, on the Hellbat and a few Marines, but still not that many. And these tank shots are just too brutal. He's going Infestation Pit now, but he needed to either go Infestation Pit for Broodlords or Ling Speed and Baneling Nest much earlier. If he was doing the Ling Speed one, he'd also have needed to drone up into the 70s. He's going to go Lurkers is what he's going to try and play. Dark is an expert. If it was Dark in Serral's shoes, I'd be happy for him. But I don't think Serral has a lot of practice with this style. And I'm telling you, this is a very hard transition to make. Mass Roach Ravager off 3 base economy into Hydra Lurker Infested. You don't have the gas in the bank. He's already spent so much gas on Ravagers. So what's he got? 2 Infestors. That's going to try to land Fungals on the bio. Combine that with Bile. You can take stuff out. He's getting the gases up on his 4th, but it's a very late gas. Any transition off this style, if it's Ling Bane, you need to saturate the minerals very quickly. If it's this tech one, you need those gases almost instantly. You can see he's already put drones on those gases. The problem is he's never going to be able to secure a 5th base. He doesn't have enough mobility with this style. Pushes that drop back there. We've got a drop on the left that he is defending quite well. There's still hope for Serral in this game. I mean, I'm commentating it like he's dead. He's not. Infestors are absolutely a brilliant call here. They are the unit that'll get him back in this game, potentially. They need another 20 seconds before they have energy. Cua's maxed out, though, so I do think Kua could probably just push through him right now. It's just hard to push through Ravagers when there's this much creep on the map. So Cua's going to be annoying with the drops. Has he got a 4th command center on the way? He does. So he's going to play this very slow and just continue the upgrades. Lurkaden, Hydra's on the way. Here he comes. No. As I say, he's going to play it slow. He comes out here. The Infestors show themselves. Oh, no, Serral. He does fungal the tanks, but oh, my God. Big Biles actually land. Another big fungal, but those were the only 2 fungals, and those are now gone. Wait. He's got one more Infestor. Never mind that. He's got one more Infestor. Fungal's about to kick in. These Biles are spectacular. So he's got one more fungal kicking in. If he can land one more fungal bile combo on those Marauders, it would be lit. Oh, I don't think he's going to get it. That Infestor runs to its death. He does end up landing a few biles across this army, but he just isn't quite at the Lurkers. And as I said, the raw amount of material for the Terran is too good. 3-1 upgrades on the Bioverse, 2-2. And with all that tank count, I mean, even now, 7 tanks, even though they're heavily wounded, still alive. And so many Marauders. Ravagers try to do a run by on the left side. It's not enough. Whoo! Serral's Roach timing fails there, and he's unable to follow it up. GG's. Well played. Kua taking the 2-1 advantage. He's got that advantage now. 2-1. Just needs one more map to close it out. In the top right, it's Kua. Believe he's on Dragon Phoenix Gaming at the moment. His opponent in the bottom left in the blue, it's Serral. Serral. I imagine that's why he's capitalized the 2 R's in the name. Try and get the Finnish pronunciation kind of inferred there. Serral. As many people have started calling it. Looks like pausing at 16 supply for the hatchery. Sends the drone down. And it's going to try to get that. For those who don't know, Pillars of Gold, the patch is slightly further away, a little more awkward. So rather than being able to get the 48-second hatchery that he normally would get, it's a 50-second hatchery. So 2-second delay. Already at 50 seconds. That's why a lot of the time you might feel like on this map your build orders are a little weak, a little slow. But something Raynor pointed out when he was commentating with the guys, I think in the grand finals, in fact. And Roddy was like, oh, he's like, I always noticed my builds felt sloppy on this map. I thought it was just because I'm bad. And Reynolds like, no, the mineral patches are a bit worse. Like, you know, everyone just mines a little bit slower on this map because of the orientation of them, I imagine. I mean, we used to talk about this in Heart of the Swarm, where builds were so consistent and so well defined because we'd been playing, you know, off the same economy for so many years in late Heart of the Swarm. And I remember like Overgrowth, you were just like, oh my god, my hatchery is like 2 seconds faster than any other map. It was like, you felt like you were playing so well every time on that map because you just had a bit more money than normal and things started a little bit faster and you're like, oh yeah, I'm so good at this game. Of course, your opponent had the exact same circumstance, so it wasn't really an advantage. It just very slightly changed those opening dynamics and not really something you notice unless you are playing, you know, really picture perfect down to the second minute details. Q are not scouting at all this game. Oof, if there's ever a time to do a spawning pool first and get an advantage, this would be it. Yeah, interesting, those habits that we notice. I talked about roaches on that last map because it's a bit of a harder map, but also the Terran bases are quite exposed. We saw how Q had to even lift up his third. Lightshade, a lot of players have been proxy raxing, I've noticed. And that's actually a map where we've seen a lot more spawning pool first, right? It feels like Raynor, every time he played that map, was going spawning pool first recently at IEM and at Katowice, and especially against Korean Terrans who are known for their proxy barracks. So good little adjustments. It does force the spore trick. Q there with a bit of damage. Once again, quick third command center, so straight back to that. He's like, yeah, you're Serral. There's no way Serral would ever do a Ravager Ling attack like that 2 games in a row. That's the sort of dangerous maneuver that someone like Dark is very capable of doing. Like Dark, when I look at the way Dark plays, I'm like, oh, this guy's a psychopath. Like, he's capable of doing it 5 games in a row. If he thinks you're the player who's going to cut that corner, he's happy to do it. Even though we don't think of Dark as like a full-on gambler or anything, he's a little bit more willing to like get a read inside his opponent's head and be like, yeah, I think I know. I think I know how you think, and I'm going to take advantage of it. Where Serral, when he's on match point like this, and he's just failed with it, this is entirely predictable. Goes back to Overlord speed, the safest possible opening. He wants to scout everything. He wants to see everything. He doesn't want to be surprised at any moment in the game. Oh, a bit of a supply block there. He does a gas extractor trick to get out another queen. Cute little way of taking advantage of that. And OV speed does kick in. Serral flies on through the bases. Hey guys, nice base you got there. Looks like a quick third command, and it sees no tech lab on the barracks. Yeah, he sees it going down now, but he's like, you're building a Viking, a medevac, or a Liberator. That's what you know. When you see that starport building with no add-on, it's one of those 3. Which means, guess what? You don't technically need spores for that. If you're as good as Serral, you don't need spores at all against these. You just need to be a little bit more wary of like a Hellion drop coming in. And it does give you pause to maybe pull your Overlords back. Now, he's going to see the Viking, and he's going to go, ooh, so he should shuffle these Overlords back about half a screen. Notice he goes around, he pulls back. Doesn't pull back the one on the left. He pulls back the 2 on the right. So if the Viking catches them, they should be able to run backwards and get to the safety of the queens before the Viking takes any of them out. Hellions run forward, skirmishing with the queens. A lovely bounce there. There's no transfuse available. Forces the Lings to come off creep and gets a volley on them. But a quick pullback from Serral means he only takes a single Zergling loss. And notice the way Q is trying to stop him breaking those rocks. Gets a creep tumor as well. Very annoying play. And the Viking says, hey, the queens are forced to be over there on the left. I'm going to come over here on the right. Now, it is just an attack move, Viking, so it's kind of spreading its fire across multiple Overlords. It won't kill anything, but it will force Serral to respond. Force the Overlords back, limit his vision. And that opens up for the Liberator, which is going to queue up to come in behind the natural. Serral here builds a Spore, and these are Liberator Spore Crawlers. They're not covering the whole mineral line. If Cloak Banshees came in, they could just sit over here and kill all the workers. But he's expecting a Liberator, or a Widowmine drop, or a Hellion drop. So he says, okay, Spore on the edge to kill it as it unloads or as it sieges up. And as the Hellions come back in the front, he's got Lings to stop them running past. The Queen's looking good as well. The Liberator flies in the back. And that Queen says, get out of here. The Spore getting massive damage on it. That Liberator has already taken a beating. Serral does need to move that Queen down. So if that Lib comes in, he needs to get some shots on it. But that Lib's just going to chill for now. Wait until Serral's looking elsewhere. Maybe wait for a bit of other distraction before going in. Viking will clean up this follow-up Overlord Scout that confirmed this is all normal. Double eBay up into 5 barracks. So the upgrade's quite far ahead there as double evos go down just before the 6-minute mark for Serral, which is actually totally fine because he's doing a faster lair build with a nice quick Bane speed. He's got great map control, great economy, and he's got that very fast 4th base over on the left. So for Serral, it doesn't really matter about having upgrades in line with the Terran because you're meant to have more control with this style due to that faster 4th as well as the quicker gas going into the lair and the Baneling speed, which allows you to stop any really quick Marine tank pushes, Marine mine pushes, Marine Hellbat pushes. 1-1 now does start. That creep getting denied on the right was actually really annoying. He really needs to put another tumor down up here, but the Hellions are rotating. He's got to put a tumor or 2 down to replace that or it's all going to disappear, but quick to do so. Oh, he uproots his Spore in the main and then just moves it to the left slightly. That Liberator is still there. I have a feeling at this point it's been forgotten and it'll just get F2'd at some point, but we'll keep our eyes on it. It may find big damage later in this game. Patience, the key in a scenario like that. A unit which should no longer be a threat, but the longer you leave it before using it, the more chance your opponent forgets about it as well. Baneling speed still 10 seconds away. The Marine Hellion finding a little bit of an opening. Plenty of Queens up front. That Overlord does get out of there. Nicely done by Serral. And Hellbats are morphing. He's morphing another 10 Banelings. He's going to sandwich this. I think this is a really good choice for Serral. He might do a run-by with this Ling Bane. Cure, it almost feels like senses it. No, he's looking to just deny that creep. But look at the way Serral split his army up. He's got army 1 on the left, army number 4 on the right. And he finds an empty 3rd mineral line. There's a lot of Marines there. Oh, goodbye SCVs. And he's going to kill quite a few. Some of the SCVs will get out of there, but gets the gas, gets a lot of the SCVs. 16, 17, 18, 19 go down. The Lings, of course, do get wrecked after that, but great damage, well worth it. Cure desperate to do some more damage on the front. Rotates around and clears the creep off. He does not have enough space in the medevacs for all of those Marines. Oh, he's going to save those Marines. The Hellbats stand their ground and do take a bit of a decent fight. Serral respreading creep on the left in the middle. He's got to respread it on the right now as well. Cure's doing a good job of pushing the creep back. Serral's 1-1 is about to finish up. He starts a macro hatchery. Hats off to Serral. He's been really good about not forgetting that recently. Does need to make sure he doesn't get supply blocked on 152, though. I noticed these are the points in the game where Serral's been, like I said, missing injects and getting supply blocked. One or the other, halting his production during these pushes is how he's lost a few important matches to players like Clem and indeed map 1 of this series to Cure today. Banelings roll forward. Widow Mines do get a decent hit. Ooh. But clears up the Widow Mines, so that's okay. As long as you get rid of the Widow Mines, force him back. You respread your creep. That's not bad. And he even jumps on top of it. So the redrop forces Cure to pull right back. Now, Cure's on 2 factories building Widow Mines. He does not have Drilling Claws started yet. He's got to get that one going. A drop on the right comes in and gets deflected by Queens. 10 Queens beats 9 Marines. So get on out of here. And those 2-2 upgrades, how far ahead are they? Not far. 20-second advantage only. 20-second advantage is not too bad. Serral, I think, is happy with that as his Infestation Pit finishes. Still just 77 workers, so Serral's not going crazy on the economy. He's a little supply blocked here on 158 supply, so his production not quite what we'd like it to be. But he finds the 3rd mineral line again. He rolls in. Where's the army? It was all sitting in the natural. Once again, that 3rd mineral line a little exposed, and Serral should be able to escape. Oh. He kind of messes up there and accidentally has his Zerglings blocking his Banelings. Loses a few more units, but takes some depots out on the way out. Oh, almost takes out a Marine drop. Q with some fancy micro, getting a few extra Banelings for his trouble. The accidental Reaper in the mix. 9 more drones on the way for Serral. He's got 5 bases established. He's still got creep covering his corner of the map. Doesn't look like a normal Serral game for the creep spread. It looks more like a Ragnarok game. But that's a trade-off that he has made. He is not focusing on crushing the pushes. He's focusing on crushing Cure's economy. Cure is on a 3-base economy. He's got a 4th command center on the way. But he's up against a 5-base Zerg. You need more than that. This is simply not enough. Now, that's a lot of Ling Bane. Serral does not have a lot of Zerglings in the army right now. 74 Zerglings are out, but a lot of them are in this run-by squad. Oh, he's going to go for the command center. But no, he's got to go for the Marines. Too many Marines and Widow Mine around. Zergling's looking great. He even drags that fire off to the bottom. And a good little trade there for Serral. Just killing a few Marines for a few Zerglings. And Serral here still has not maxed out his supply, and a laser of Overlords would be much... Oh! Damn! A full medevac of Marines goes down just before it can pick up Cure. A little too slow to respond. You notice the way Serral moved past the Marines, so he didn't give an attack warning to Cure. So Cure only saw it when he noticed that there was a blue blob on his army on the minimap, jumped back to it, tried to load, but only got 8 Marines out in time. Ultra Cavern's on the way as +3 attack starts up for the Terran. So we've got that Hive Tech coming in. The Drilling Claws finally is coming in. And oh no, the 4th Command Center blocked by a Burrowed Zergling. Serral being a real dickhead, and I love it. It's these little moves that slow down the Terran's ability to grow and keep up with you as a Zerg. There's now 88 drones out. A big Widow Mine. No, not a big Widow Mine, because he splits to deal with it. The Ling Bane, more than enough to deal with that many Marines. Serral, he hesitates and pulls back and actually gives Cure a moment. This has actually been something Serral's been doing a fair bit recently. Oh, he burrows 2 Banelings in the mineral line. What an absolute legend. Oh, you cheeky little boy. You cheeky little boy, Serral. Oh, watch him, watch him. Oh, he unburrows and rolls in. 15 SCVs go down. Q has got to be pissed off at that one. Oh, it's just a handful of Marines, a single Widow Mine to anchor this situation. He's going to pull a few more Marines over here, but there's no Marauders, there's no more mines. Banelings do hit those Marines on the left. They all go down. These Marines doing okay. They do defend. He's got a 4th base established, but is that going to be enough? Oh, another 2 burrowed Banelings take out a whole ton of Marines right now. And oh my god, Serral getting some massive waves of damage. Looking really good in the resources. Lost there in this matchup to only be a few thousand resources behind is basically crushing your opponent's face, especially when you've got this sort of economic disparity. The Ling Bane just rolling over. That last Widow Mine burrow is awesome. Oh, 24 kill Widow Mine. Does end up going down. Unfortunately, Q has only got Dregs to support it. It's that moment when you spend all of your army points on one hero decked out with all the items, all the ward saves, and then you realize the rest of your army is unupgraded goblins, fucking Gretchen and Snotlings and shit, man. Ah, man. That Widow Mine, echoes of my Warhammer career. Well, we're going to game 5, baby. All right, it's all going to come on down to this. This man actually, I think, looked really quite good at a few points in that last game, but unable to defend that 3rd mineral line. I think a more aggressive rally point to protect those workers on the 3rd. He was leaving way too much army sitting nestled in his natural, while his 3rd base got ransacked a few times. Let's see if he can make the adjustments needed here. Game 5 on Death Aura in the bottom right. It's Cure. Of course, repping the Dragons, the Phoenixes, and the Gaming. My favorite team name. Representing ENCE Esports on the other side, as he always has. That Finnish pride for this man. In the blue, it's Serral. Interestingly, he's going to scout for proxy barracks. He says, game 5, let's not take any chances. I'm going to go 16 hatch, but I'm going to send a drone scout. Now, I've always been a big fan. If you're going to drone scout, or if you're going to, just check for proxies or anything like that, I've always been a big fan of actually going for a 17 hatchery and a 16 pool even potentially, but usually just get the 17 hatch more importantly, because if you've got a drone out here and you go a 16 hatch, it meant for a little while he only had 14 workers on minerals. Now obviously he drones up afterwards, and he is actually going to go pool before hatch, so he's taking an extra safety precaution here to make up for this drone being on the map. So he delays his gas here about 15 seconds from when it normally goes down. But remember that this is totally fine because he normally doesn't start Ling Speed straight away anyway. His drone has checked all the normal places, as has his overlords. The only spot he didn't check was here, which is just a ridiculous position to put proxy barracks. And he's literally said that there is no way, like this is almost 100, I guess technically barracks could be there or there as well. There is almost no places where they could have been on his half of the map. So well done by Serral. As I said, he doesn't normally start Ling Speed straight away, so it's totally okay to take the gas a little bit later. He'll still have the 100 gas well before he intends to make Ling Speed. He could even pull a worker off gas now and still start it when he intends to. So a small optimization there, which he's missing, but it's very minor. Now Q has gone Marine. It's a Barracks Gas Expand, Marine, straight into Factory and then Reactor. Awesome build. He's going to have real quick Hellions out with this. And, well, not necessarily. With his positioning, I would say yes, because the factory is just in a weird spot. But he could just go Marines, Hellions, Medevac. We could see the Marine drop and then 3 Hellions run in. And, of course, sometimes people will even get a Widow Mine with 6 Marines with that build. But, no, he's going to go for the Swapperoo. Classic aggro Hellion play. Look at how fast. I was talking about Hellions hitting the field at like 335, 340 standard. These Hellions are going to be out at the 3-minute mark. That's a lot faster. A minute is a big time in StarCraft, and what we're going to be looking at is about a 30-second difference, 35 seconds maybe. That's a long time. It means they're going to be getting there when there's not many queens to defend. He's going to be a little bit more aggro, looking for creep tumor snipes. May go for a quick 4 Hellion dive as well. As I say that, the next 2 Hellions, they just a second delay on it, and he actually cancels them and makes 2 Widow Mines. Wow, okay, interesting. So we're going to see 2 Hellions at the moment just hunting for Zerglings, just kind of making sure there's no Lings waiting to do a little run by. He's just looking around here. And he's going to go for a 4 Widow Mine drop behind this, which is a real cute play. Armory goes down behind that as well, so spores will be needed to detect those. So I imagine he goes back into Hellions and follows up with a Hellbat timing after that. Now, SCV production is actually being cut a little bit to hit this as sharp and hard as he can. Just a few moments. Not a lot of time of SCV's cut, but I'm talking like a few moments. Yeah. Oh, the Marines hunting down this Overlord. Serral's not watching. The Widow Mines are going to get it. Don't shoot your own medevac. He does pull it back. Good micro by Cure. Okay, so the Overlord goes down. Now, obviously, he's warned that it's coming. He's already building a spine at the front. Is Serral? So he's got that for any Hellbat follow-up. Viking coming out to hunt down more Overlords afterwards. Bit of a supply block on 54 for Cura as well, so he's losing a lot of SCV production in this game. That's the one thing I've got to be critical of here, because a build like this, especially against Overlord speed, you really want to be playing the macro version of the build, because the Zerg has committed so much to their scouting, it's hard for them to defend this efficiently. Now, there's a spore building in the natural. He's got a boost past. But his boost was not ready. He used it to get over here, so the Queen zoned him out. Really nice positioning by Serral. Says, if you boost past, we're going to hit you the whole way. You're going to maybe get past, but your medevac will be deep in the red. You're not going to be able to recycle that very well. Does take out that Overlord. Hey, that's a good kill. Serral's going to need to be a little bit quicker to respond to those moves as he loses his 3rd Overlord in the bottom of the map. Good trades so far for Cure as he starts the 3rd command center at the 4-minute 40 mark in the main base. Not a very quick 3rd base at all. Even with the old school Hellion Liberator builds, you'd still get your command center about 35 seconds faster than that. That being said, Serral's 3rd base should have been fully saturated a little while ago in a more normal game. He's still a little under saturation there and in his natural. So you can see that both sides are slowed down about 30-40 seconds from these openings. It still looks relatively even so far as a Hellbat Viking push on the right and a Widow Mine drop goes into the main base. The Zergling's going to rotate down here, but no, Serral changes his mind, splits some Zerglings into the main. As long as he runs those drones away, I think he's good. That takes a lot of damage. Now, one Hellbat does go down. The Hellbat Viking pulls back. Widow Mine's burrowing in the back of the natural. He's going to try and be as annoying as he possibly can. He gets 1 Zergling, 2 Zerglings, and a drone. Really not finding the damage that he wants so far. And damaging an Overlord. This is very rough. The Hellbats go down on the right. The Viking is falling as well. Yeah, I think the Zerglings and the Queens take that out. That was an incredible hold for Serral, who had all the information, and because of that, I really feel like Cure needed to be even more defensive and slow with that. He needed to preserve those Hellbats. Now that they're gone, Serral has a free hall pass to cover the map in creep. I'm telling you, there's going to be Terran fans 3-4 minutes from now coming into this game going, this is fucking unfair. You can't put creep all over the map like that. And he's going to go, no, here's my hall pass. The Terran player lost all his harassment units. All he's got left is a medevac that'll get one shot by a spore crawler filled with Widow Mines that can never unload in the corner of the map. He's got nothing else. Oh, okay, he's got some Marines. Guess what? They've got stim, no other upgrades, and it's only 11 Marines. They're not going to hit me till 7 minutes. Easiest hold of my life with my Queen Zergling. This is honestly a situation where if Serral keeps hitting that creep spread, which I'll admit he's not, he's missing a lot of tumors right now. They could have spread a while ago. He could get crazy map dominance. That being said, he's still looking good. 72 drones to 49 SCVs. These Queens do get in trouble. They get blocked by the spine, but great transfuses there. Does just pick off the creep tumors and get out, but immediate respread with those Queens. Queen count's a little bit lower than you'd normally like it as Serral. He's only at 7 Queens right now, and it looks like the medevac is still alive up there as Overlord sees it. And a Mine Marine drop going to move out the right side. Muta Spire is on the way. Sign of Mutiling Bane play, sorry, is what I meant to say there. And that Widow Mine drop transferring. Queen focus fires at 2 shots. 3 Widow Mines do get down. Serral's going to say, okay, no worries, buddy. There's 3 Zerglings for you to kill. Ooh, one of them unburrowed, but he kills it before it can reburrow. Tricky micro from Cure. Good micro from Serral as well. Here we go, though. That bought a bit of time. Kua able to come in on the right side of the map here. His 1-1 upgrades are kicking in a moment. So he's going to be up double upgrades in 3 seconds. They kick in, those upgrades do, but watch out for the friendly fire. The Widow Mines don't friendly fire, but one of them goes down, the other one saved in red hit points. Force on the left side of the map can have some Widow Mines reinforce it. This creates problem areas for the Zerg. This creates pressure. This creates little staging zones, which you can micro forward from. Serral just clicks his Banelings on those 2 Widow Mines. There's 3 Banelings for 2 Widow Mines. That's a trade I'll take any day because this forces you back from my area. It allows me to spread that creep out. And these queens, they are holding position on the right. The Lingbane on the left. Ling's coming to reinforce on that right side as those queens do engage. 5th base goes down for Serral. Serral on 79 workers right now as a Baneling drop comes in and gets 6 workers. Oh, he came in from the right there. A lot of workers damaged. The Marines got hit by 1 Baneling. 6 go down. Not as devastating as it could have been. Jumps forward, does take out what looks like 1 more unit there. Another Widow Mine, I think, fell for Cure. The Lingbane runs forward on the right as well. He does need an Overseer with that force to get rid of that. Right now, there's only 1 Overseer on the map, but hey, guess what? Cure's reign of harassment on this map is over. It's only really been a little piddling, a little sprinkle of Terran harassment, but with 14 mutas on the way, that is done and dusted. Cure, when he sees those mutas out on the map, is going to be in a big bit of trouble. He's got Marines on the right, he's got Marines on the left, he's got 2-2 on the way. Now keep in mind the upgrade's being massively delayed here by Serral. He's still holding down that muta key. He's got to save his gas to start 2-2. It's a bit of a wild commitment here. His Lingbane runs forward, forces the pickup. Notice he's hiding his mutas. He doesn't want to show them. They're just out of vision. And then when he's got enough of them, he's like, all right, get those medevacs. He's going to try and click on the full one. If he knows which one's full, apparently no, he does not. Clicks on the other one, but he gets them both quickly anyway. The other medevacs pick up and boost home. Widow Mine drop will continue to do a bit of harassment on Serral's side of the map, as will this single Widow Mine drop here. This looks like a 2 Widow Mine drop on the left side of the map. That one, unfortunately, didn't burrow. The one in the main does get 5 workers. Nicely done there by Cure. It's going to try and keep him busy with these Widow Mine drops. Meanwhile, Thor's on the way. He's got armor upgrades coming out for those Thors so they can survive more Muta and Zergling shots. He's also got a second 4th command center there that's finished. He's adding 3 more barracks for tech labs. Another wave of Widow Mine harassment comes in. Can he get that one burrowed? He can, but it dies before it can fire. Mutas come in on the other one as well, and they all go down, unfortunately. This follow-up Widow Mine drop did not do a lot of damage. It didn't really slow him down at all, and we see Serral 5th base and 6th base both. Well, 5th is up on the left, 6th going up on the right side. His creep now can once again respread a little bit. Q has been doing so much to slow the creep down, but it feels like he hemorrhages units each time he does it. And when Serral chooses to counter-strike, it is almost always found the mark. I mean, in the games he's lost, it's usually been he's just on the defense the entire time, right? Other than maybe the Roach Ravager game where there was the failed aggression. Does take out 1 Widow Mine, takes one of them to the face. 2 Widow Mines for a Muta, decent trade. Gets a 3rd Widow Mine, nice Muta harassment. Does lose another Mutalist to that missile turret. And that 4th base is now establishing planetary 2 turrets going down over there. Infestation Pit's finishing up though. Serral is not going to just sit here on Lingbane Muta. A mistake. Some players just make that mistake of never transitioning out of it. His 2-2 is not too far away, about a minute. If he could start that hive now, his 3-3 isn't going to be too bad, but hasn't started it just yet. Burrow's on the way. We've got a Spore and a Spine in these edge bases, or at least in the left side, as that's going to help him defend any Widow Mine drops. The idea is, no matter how much is going on the map, if you can just run your drones away, let the Spine and the Spore clear up the Widow Mines, go back to mining a bit later, it simplifies the APM drain that sort of harassment has on you as a Zerg player. Hive's now on the way as a Lingbane Muta run by on the right. Looks for some damage. There's a Widow Mine behind the wall. Got to watch out for that. Does end up hitting the Mutas. The Marines do take 1 big Baneling, but that doesn't really kill too many. Overall, a couple of depots for a whole lot of Zerg. A trade that Cure can take time and again in this series. Just going to replace that wall. It's a very fragile wall, though. This is the sort of wall that buys you about 1.5 seconds time at most. It stops Zerglings getting in, but Banelings and Mutas will just smash it down. Let's look at how Serral sets up for this stage. You can see Mutas are on his main control group. He's got the Spire on that, so he can tab over to check his upgrades. Then he's got his main army, which is just a ton of Lingbane on the left of the map. And he's got his run-by squad on the right, number 4, which is a lot of Lingbane as well. So the run-by squad can always be the arm that comes in behind the army, if he decides to come in and collapse on this army on the front from 2 sides. Otherwise, though, it's always hitting the backside, the economy of Cure. It's coming in, biting at his heels, chipping away at his logistics, his reinforcing line, and his economy. And just this main army does end up joining with that secondary army, and he crushes this. You'll notice that both armies are over here right now. So he's just added them both into the main army key, and you can see the numbers just changed. He split them off. Whenever he resets, he's like, yeah, he was like, quick, jump on the army, crush it, single fight, go. But then he split them up again. Now there's 2 banelings up here, which were clearly meant to be burrowed, but they weren't. There are 2 banelings burrowed on the left side of the map on a similarly placed ramp. Banelings get a decent little trade there. They don't quite get the Widow Mine though. And he swaps armies. His main army on the left side of the map, or actually he swapped exactly which group was where, tries to run in and it finds nada. Kua well split and really responsive play from Kua here, responding to what Serral's been doing. And some of these trades are so good for Kua. I absolutely see him getting back in this game now, because this Ling Bane stage, it's not meant to be good for Zerg in these supply numbers, and Q is showing us why. He says, yeah, dude, as long as I'm not just getting surrounded and absolutely blitzed and rolled on, I mean, Marauders, Thors, Mines, these units are so good versus Mutiling Bane, but oh, friendly fire Mines kill about 15 Marines, and the Thor gets caught. He was a bit too slow to pick up that Thor, so he does get caught with only a small part of his army over here. The Banelings do come in, but they just find Marauders and Depots, and as I've talked about, that's a trade Q is happy to take. Now, somehow the unit's lost tab is actually still so damn good for Serral, and I think it's that little fight like there where he catches the Marines by just overwhelming. The Zerglings catch a too small chunk of Q's army. The Zerglings don't have any units shooting them down because Q is just trying to run away, and whenever you turn tail and run like that as Q, you need to manually retarget your Widow Mines or unburrow them, or they're just going to shoot your own units, and it's so hard to do that. You know, you say, oh yeah, just do that. It's like, well, that's really hard to do when you've got a surprise amount of Ling Bane that's jumped on your army and you're trying to just stutter step your units out of there. Oh no, he's going to lose his 5th command center. That's always a big problem on this map. Getting out to a 5th base is such a stretch. It's so far out there. Same thing in TVP. We see a lot of Terrans struggle to get that 5th base up, even against Protoss players once they get DTs out. And against Ling Bane Muta, the most mobile comp in the game, it's absolutely true. This base gets blasted. Can he get the SCVs? And he could get those Banelings in those SCVs. Oh, there's about 20 more SCVs there, trapped behind the minerals. But Serral takes out the 4th command center as well. And you know what? The unit's lost tab is not looking that bad. He's smoothly going into Ultras. This is not him throwing away Ling Bane and just replacing it with Ling Bane. He's replacing the Ling Bane, the mutas that he's losing, with Ultras. As long as he keeps a decent muta count alive, like 17 mutas, this is enough. Clears up a few Widow Mines there. He's harassing, he's threatening, he's forcing a lot of movement from Kua, and his upgrades are going to close that gap. 3 upgrades kick in. Chitinous Plating kicks in for the Ultras. 6 Ultras are about to hit the field. He's got Anabolic Synthesis. That's the Ultra movement speed boost. It gives them a movement buff when they're off creep. Incredible. I mean, this is looking really good for Serral now. After knocking down the 5th and the 4th base, it feels like Q has run out of steam a little bit. He's got +2 vehicle plating done, +3 on the way, which is making his Thors, his medevacs nice and tanky. Especially against the Zerglings and the Mutas. 2 more drones coming in though. Keeping up at 90 workers is Serral, who's got that 5th and 6th base both mining healthily. Does look like he's transferred workers out of his base very well. Oh, that's a lot of Marauders, but that's a lot of Ultras as well. Is it enough? It's not enough to handle that many Ultras, but he can definitely do some damage. He's taken out a lot of the Banelings. One of the Ultras will fall, but uh-oh, SCVs, Marines are exposed. The Ultras, I think, are going to need to fall back now, as they do overextend into that base a little. 2 Ultras did go down, but 6 more SCVs. And the thing is, at this point, Q are losing mining for a moment like that, not normally a big deal, but when that's your 4th base, your opponent's actually taking the 7th on the Rich Cast. You need that economy to be uninterrupted. You can't handle any more of these delays right now, and any more damage that goes down is going to be a bummer. Q has 3 Marauders stuck in his main base. That's something. He accidentally built a bunch of turrets in panic in a clump, so 3 Marauders, 6 supply, permanently stuck in the main. Doesn't sound like a lot, does make a difference, especially when they're maxed out. When these armies are spread, there's always a fine balance between having enough army to win the fights, right? If you have more army, sometimes you take a way more efficient fight, but you also want to have enough economy that you can constantly rebuild. Now, oh, he barely misses those burrowed Banelings with the scan, but no Marines coming in behind it. Just a few Marauders. Kua is very protective of his Marines at this point. He realizes how fragile they are, and as a giant army swings in on the right, mass Baneling hammer. Serral is not going for a pretty finish. He is just wanting to smash his numbers into Kua and overwhelm him. And you know what? He actually gets a decent little trade there. He isn't quite able to kill that 3rd base command center, but you can see the units getting choked up. These barracks outside on this base, sometimes very good for defending a Zerg wave, but sometimes they also interrupt your ability to move around and kind of maneuver between your own bases and reinforce different sides. So Kua does try to set up with a bit of a respread. He's moving a 5th base out to the left. But there's so much Ultraling Bane, and Serral here with a giant bank with a giant economy lead. Yes, it's not pretty, but this is actually something I'm very proud of him for doing. If he was being more wasteful with it, more stupid, I'd be critical. But the way he's moving around, so Kua can't be properly set up when he engages, and then as long as Kua's not completely set up, he just dives in. He spreads his Banelings a bit, takes out the front row of Widow Mines, hits the Marines, hits the SCVs. Those Mutas are just taking out tons of SCVs, and he disengages. He doesn't overcommit too deep. He does need more Overseers. He makes one there, and immediately, I believe, adds that to his Mutalisk control group. Indeed, he does. So, I mean, he's not overcommitting. He's just simply using the natural advantage of his army. Ultra Mutaling Bane is the best mobile movement composition for swinging on one side, smashing a base. Their whole army comes there. It's better than your army. Yeah, your army is not the most efficient. It's all about speed. But then you fight when it's a good fight, you disengage when it's a bad fight, and that's exactly what Serral's doing. And Overseer finally joins, so we can start picking off these Widow Mines again. He's still very heavy on the Ling Bane, so he does queue up 2 more Ultralisks. And there's a base flying out to the left. The Mutas have spotted it. And now Kua here, desperate to get that 5th base up. A little bit of inattendance. He's going to lose his 5th command center again. He just cannot get a 5th base up. Kua is simply going to be starved out. Serral here is just sitting on the chest of Kua. He's just leaning his weight on him, and Kua can't breathe at this point. Kua is not doing anything particularly wrong. It just feels like he's fighting the bigger guy at this point. It feels like Serral, you know, he's just got that weight advantage in terms of the numbers, the economy, the ability to constantly reproduce. And because he's using this mobility so well to pick small little fights here and there. Look at that. Mutas go in, picks off a Marauder. Doesn't quite have enough to one-shot the Marauders after he loses 1 Muta to the Marines. But more Ling Bane Ultra. Where's the Widow Mines? Where are the Widow Mines to deal with these Banelings? He doesn't quite have them. He turns once he has his units together. Serral just cleanly disengages, pulls back. So many stims being baited out. Yes, he gets a few Banelings. Yes, individual trades are not bad for Kua. But he needs better than not bad, man. He needs to land a big killing hit, and he just can't quite get it. Now, at this point, I'd love to see Serral add Infestors. I really feel in the late game with his Ultra styles, he's been so much more effective ever since he started adding Ultras in the late game. He often just adds 2 or 3, doesn't even bother with Pathogen Glands a lot of the time. And it means that it's a game changer. Whenever this army comes out into the middle, like in this big ball, he can't do this. And if he's not in a big ball, guess what? Ling Bane Ultra can just surround and overwhelm, right? So the Infestors are going to punish that really hard. He's going to go Greatest Fire to start here. He's still just trying to overwhelm with sheer numbers, sheer force of will. Kua trying to stand, trying to hold the line. His bio forced to spread backwards. Widow Mines trying to burrow on top of Banelings. Serral actually focus-fired those Widow Mines with the Banelings like the beast that he is. The Mutas are just focus-firing the Medivacs now methodically. He says, I might not be able to kill every one of your heroic soldiers, but I can take out their support system. And Serral there just working an advantage methodically and cleanly. And he does take that series out. Pushed to the limit, though. A very back-and-forth series. The last 5 minutes of that game, though, we once again got to see Serral when he's in his comfort zone, right? Dude, it just feels unfair once he gets to that situation. Damned well played, Serral. Damned well played, Kua. You both put on an awesome show. Good night, guys.